Coming to you from the big island of Hawaii, it's the Songs and Stories Podcast. And now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Welcome to Songs and Stories, a weekly show where we talk with Big Island musicians and check out their music. I'm Steve Roby. Thanks for joining me this week. On this episode, my guests are the singer-songwriter duo Kristin Lagasse and Keehan, better known as Honey Jar. Welcome, ladies.
Hi. Hi.
Thanks for being on Songs and Stories. I really appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
We appreciate your time.
At the beginning of each show, I like to start out with a look back at a musician's early influences and how they got started with music. What was it like for the two of you?
For me, I was obsessed with the violin when I was little, and I'm not sure exactly where that stemmed from, but that was the first instrument that I picked up. And then when I got a little bit older, I moved to the guitar, and I was heavily influenced by Ani DeFranco particularly, but I also loved a lot of old music like Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell. And I currently have started listening to more jazzy stuff like Nora Jones, but I've always liked the organic sound of actual instruments, you know, real strings or pianos, for sure.
I grew up in a musical family. Like Kristin, grew up with probably a lot of the older stuff. My dad listened to a lot of like jazz, a lot of old folk music too. And I had a guitar when I was about 16, but didn't really start using it to create my own songs until I was about 20. And I switched over to an ukulele before I even lived in Hawaii. So started out on a ukulele, and now I transitioned back to guitar.
Nice. So you guys are versatile and you can play different instruments, and
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
We each have a couple tools in our belt.
That's always a good thing. Well, tell me, how did the two of you meet and form Honey Jar?
Well, we met, I think maybe 4 years ago. Ellen, does that sound right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about 4 years ago we met at the grand opening of a coffee shop that has since closed down, sadly, but it was called The Sweet Spot. And we were both playing at the grand opening party that they threw. And then we became really good friends, musical friends, and we'd share gigs and stuff. But it still took a couple of years before we actually came together to form the duo. I think we've been playing together now for about a year and a half as Honey Jar.
Kristin really supported me. I hadn't really played many live gigs at all until I met her. And she really took to my music and was really supportive in helping me organize myself enough to get my first album out. She produced that for me.
Nice.
And then we just decided, hey, if we're doing all this music together, why not join our forces here and go full on ahead.
You guys have a really unique sound. I've heard you play at the Keehan Theater at the Mike Luce studio there in kind of an informal jam session, if you will. I was blown away by number one, your talent, but the harmonies in your vocals, like you guys have been playing for decades. It sounds perfect, like, you know, the perfect match.
We joke like sometimes we share a head, so maybe that has something to do with it.
Well, it really works. Well, tell me about the name of the group. How did you come up with Honey Jar? Does that mean anything?
Oh my goodness, we just sat down to think up a name, and we came up with so many super silly things, like just Googling words on the internet and then putting them together. But that one, I honestly can't remember. Ellen, do you remember how we came to it?
Well, I really wanted honey pot.
Oh, that's right.
But then our friend Lisa Leek, she told us that's what in the olden days people used to go to the bathroom in. So you don't want to call yourself honey pot.
No. Good choice.
But you know, honey has that sweetness to it, and I think our harmony, Kristin's harmony, is with me. It's that syrupy sweetness.
Good way of putting it. The other unique thing I found out about your music is that you guys are probably one of the only or very few bluegrass style groups we have together on the island. Have you experienced that too?
That is true. I hadn't really thought about it, but now that I sit here thinking, I can't really think of any others. I mean, there's definitely some, we think of ourselves as like bluegrass folk, and there's definitely more, folky style groups, but not really bluegrass, I guess. So we are kind of a niche Big Island thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think most people coming here don't realize that they'll find a unique group like you. It's one of the things that makes you
For
guys
sure.
great. Yeah. One of the tracks you sent over for us to discuss is called Upside Down. And Kristin, you mentioned that's from your upcoming album, right?
Yes, it is. I'm hoping that it'll be released in January at this point. I've been using a lot of the downtime of quarantining to try to get it in order. So I'm hoping to release it in the winter. And Upside Down is one of the first completely finished songs. So this is kind of a sneak peek of what will be on it. I wrote it for a friend of mine who was going through a really hard time. I feel like I've been writing a lot of songs right now about hardship, but with a glimmer of hope. There's always a glimmer of hope somewhere in there. And yeah, so that's what this song came from.
And you've got some guest musicians on it?
I do. For this one, I believe I wrote it on guitar, but it goes really well on piano. And I do play piano, but I don't play very well. So I played it well enough to be able to show my friend Deborah Kalma, what I was thinking, and then she took it and ran with it. And I'm really happy with the arrangement that she came up with. And then I had another friend who plays cello amazingly. She's in the group Dirty Cello, and we've been kind of doing a thing for years now where I'll pass her songs, and she lives in California, and she'll throw the cello on it and then pass it back to me. So that wasn't much of a change, coming into quarantining. A lot of people are recording like that right now, but we've been doing that for a long time. So I had her put cello down on Upside Down as well. And I feel like the two together, the piano and the cello, it's just beautiful. I'm really happy with it.
Let's give Rebecca Roundman credit and mention her name too.
Did I not mention her name? Yes, Rebecca Roundman of Dirty Cello.
This person in California that is in a group is called Rebecca Roundman. I want to say recently, but it feels like a long time ago since Dirty Cello played the Keehan Theater. Did you guys go to that show and check that out?
We weren't able to make it, but I don't know if you knew, we actually had a house concert a couple of days later. She wasn't able to promote that she was going to be at our house concert because of the Keehan Theater. Actually, maybe I shouldn't even be saying that. Maybe you want to cut that part. Because I don't want her to get in trouble. I could just vaguely say that I've had her play at a house concert in the past that I do here in Kona, and they're always a lot of fun. We haven't been able to do them, of course, since the quarantine, but Dirty Cello is amazing.
She's an amazing player, and some of the covers they do are incredible. So
yeah,
it's probably a great benefit to have her on this track here. Do you have a title for the album yet?
It's going to be called Gold.
Gold. Here's Kristin Lagasse doing Upside Down from an upcoming album called Gold.
Gonna wait by the river, gonna stay here shivering, just shivering. Gonna call for each other, gonna love anyway, 'cause our hearts are tethered to this world. Even though it feels like you're upside down, it feels like you're upside down. It feels like your worries lay heavy on your mind. It feels like you're upside down. It feels like you're upside down. I know you worry, but this life is just a crazy ride. So we go where the current pulls and we flow as far as we can, as far as we can. And we know that as we drift, our souls are battered and bruised, but they are whole. Even though it feels like you're upside down, feels like you're upside down. Feels like your worries Feels like you're upside down. Feels like you're upside down. I know you worry, but this life is just a crazy ride. It's a kaleidoscope if you hold it right. A kaleidoscope if you open your eyes to the little shards of never-ending light. So we wait for each other and we stay as long as it takes to make our own way. We make our wishes all along Orion's belt. We climb the highest ridges, so we'll remember how we felt. And we dare still, the soles of our shoes wear out, making plans, but still sometimes it feels like you're upside down. Feels like you're upside down. Feels like your worries lay heavy on your mind. Feels like you're upside down. Feels like you're upside down. I know you worry, but this life is just a crazy ride. It's just a crazy ride.
Hey everyone, this is RJK Kaniao, and you're listening to the Songs and Stories podcast. You can check me out online at rjkaneaomusic.com. That's RJKANEAO music.com. Join my mailing list and check out all my social media links. And please don't forget to click those follow buttons. Once again, this is RJK Kaniao. Aloha and mahalo. Shoots!
If you enjoy the Songs and Stories podcast, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes. Be sure to visit bigislandmusic.net to join the conversation, access the show notes, and discover our fantastic bonus content. Now, back to the show.
And we're back on Songs and Stories with the members of Honey Jar, Kristin Lagasse and Ellen Keehan. Welcome back to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
More on a serious note here and talking about the pandemic and COVID-19, which we talked a little bit about in the last section of the show here. How did it affect your music plans? You were saying that, it was kind of during the quarantine time, it was a good time to get into some songwriting.
We were playing out quite a bit, so that definitely took a big halt. But it's definitely a good time to take space and write songs. And we did play a couple live streams on Facebook. We got together when it was okay. I actually had a friend that was kind of quarantined here from Seattle visiting his mom, and we recorded an album of my songs. And Kristin came and played banjolele on some and sang on some. So I just released that on August 21st. It's called Libra.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's awesome.
Well, I understand you guys might be heading into the recording studio soon. A place called Sage Sounds down near Kona there. This will be your second album, right? Tell me about that project.
We're going to give it a try and see how it goes. But we're heading toward our second album. Our first album we put out a little over a year ago, Honey Jar Live, and that was to have to support tour that we had set up. But so that was we put it together pretty quickly, and it was a live album. So this will be our first real studio release. We have absolutely no idea at this point, how long it's going to take to put it together and when it might be finished. But we're excited to at least get started on it for sure. And we have a lot of new material.
And plans after that? I mean, once the pandemic kind of hopefully comes to a close there.
It's hard to make any plans right now.
I know. I'm just ambitious and aspirational that one day this will all be over and we'll be back to enjoying live music once again there.
Yeah, I
For
want to
sure.
play gigs. I want to play
I
gigs.
know, me
Come
too.
on.
I miss it.
There's a track that you sent in called "How Does Your Garden Grow?" Can you tell me about the backstory behind that and what's it feature?
Kristin, I think you had the initial melody. I think you heard it one day while you were driving or something. And
It was just the chorus. Yeah.
that's the hook to the whole song. And we wrote the arrangement together. And I think it was one of the first songs where we did more of a kind of a call and response with harmonies rather than just the harmonies. So that was really fun. And we wrote it at my uncle's house on his lanai. I was dog sitting. And it just kind of came together. Like it came out pretty naturally. Sometimes that happens with us where we just get going and get momentum and songs just come. And it was born.
So you write both collectively and separately, right?
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
I think that's what makes it special for me because you get to collaborate and you get other influences and you might not think of something that the other person, what their specialty is. So it's great to be able to collaborate and songwrite together.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Let's listen to How Does Your Garden Grow by Honey Jar here on Songs and Stories.
How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? Pulling weeds and making room. Pulling weeds and making room. Planting seeds under the moon. Waiting for those buds to bloom. Waiting for those buds to bloom. Harvest time will be here soon. How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? Growing beets and raising kale. Growing beets and raising kale. Got dirt under my fingernails. Picking hops to brew the ale. Picking hops to brew the ale. Evening fire spinning tales. How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? Gazing at this starlit sky. Gazing at this starlit sky. Watching kids catch fireflies. Eating homemade apple pie. Eating homemade apple pie. This life ain't gonna pass us by. How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow? How does your garden grow? Oh, how does your garden grow?
Hey, Big Island music fans. Would you like to be part of the podcast? If you go to our website, bigislandmusic.net, you can record a comment about the show or tell us about a musician you'd like to see interviewed. Just click on the microphone icon and start recording. Don't forget to tell us where you're located. Your comments might be included in a future podcast. So head over to bigislandmusic.net. We'd love to hear from you.
This is Bub Pratt, curator at Kukuau Studio in Hilo, home of the Sunday Night Open Mic and the Monday Night Jazz Jam. You're listening to Songs and Stories with my friend Steve Roby.
Prepare yourself. Okay, let's go.
Where can folks find your music online and connect with you via social media?
For the most part, Honey Jar is on Facebook and Instagram, and both of those, our handle is Honey Jar Kona. And we also do have an email address for Honey Jar, honeyjarkona@gmail.com. And we also have websites for our individual music. Mine is KristinLagasse.com, KristinLagasse.com. I also have a personal Facebook and a personal Instagram as well. And Ellen?
I have 2 albums up on Apple Music and Spotify and YouTube. Just search my name, Ellen Keehan. And then our Honey Jar live album is also on all streaming platforms. The easiest way I've found is just search Honey Jar Live, and then the first track is called Big Wide World.
Nice.
And that'll shorten the other honey jars and
all the other honey people
with honey in it.
Well, Ellen, could you spell your last name for the listeners hovering over their keyboard and waiting to make sure they spell it right before they hit Google search there?
Ellen Keehan, Keehan, like Nancy.
Okay, and I'll put descriptions of those links in the show notes below this podcast there. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go? Did I miss any questions that?
Oh, I was going to tell you about the banjolele a little bit. Yes, the missing piece to the honey jar puzzle when we first started writing together and becoming Honey Jar. It actually was totally a fluke that we ended up with the banjolele being a part of our sound, because both of us play the ukulele and play the guitar. It had never occurred to me to even look at a banjo before, and somebody that was a friend of a friend who was leaving the island actually just left it behind. And so my friend passed it to me because she's not musical, but she thought I might be able to do something with it. And when I saw it, it was funny because it was right before we started playing together. And my first thought in this tiny, adorable little, if you've never seen it, it looks like a mini banjo, but it plays just like a ukulele. So if you know how to play the ukulele, you can instantly play it. You don't have to learn a new instrument, which is really cool. But when I saw it, my thought was, oh, this is what has been missing from Ellen's life. She's going to love it. And I brought it to her and I was like, here, take it for the weekend and, see if it inspires you. And she kept it for the weekend and then she gave it back and she was like, that's cool. But, it didn't rock her world the way I thought it would. And I was like, okay, so I took it back. And then when we started playing together, I pulled it out and we were like, oh, okay. I was imagining it as being part of her sound, but it made sense that I was the one playing it, and it pulled the whole Honey Jar sound together. So nice. Yeah, that's kind of our thing is Ellen plays guitar and I play banjolele, although we will switch for a couple songs here and there. We're also interested in bringing in other instrumentation in the future, but for right now, that's pretty much the Honey Jar sound.
All right. Now the banjolele is a real instrument. It's not just like a...
Oh, it is. Yeah.
It's got some history too, I believe.
It does, although I'm not very familiar with it. I should probably...
But I think it's old. Yeah. And it used to be played in the South,
like the 20s.
Jug band folk music,
right?
Real folk music started.
There was a musician at the Keehan that played one, and I had never seen it before, and I think it's a really cool looking instrument. And I looked it up. I think there's a Wikipedia page too for banjolele, and this little instrument has got some history to it. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe we channel some old timey rhythms with it.
Oh, that's right? Good. You can put that on your liner notes of your next album there. Well, thank you so much for being guest on Songs and Stories. Aloha.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Songs and Stories podcast. Make sure you never miss a show by clicking the subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next week on Songs and Stories. Aloha.